Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Good evening, everyone. Jeffery Combs, President and Founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. Some technical difficulties today in beautiful Stockton, California. The electricity has been off in my city in multiple places over the last 2 days, and I did experience some of that drama and chaos from other people's problems. As I'm breathing, releasing, and letting go, it is 2-4 Tuesday. My honor to be here with you. I am going to let the Facebook Live populate and then move into the inspirational portion of today's Facebook Live. My mother-in-law, Ramilda Freitas, is on today's Facebook Live with me. Rick Stout, good to see you here, my brother, as always. An absolute privilege and pleasure to share the stage with you at Millionaire Blueprint, and deeply, deeply honored to have you in attendance. It was awesome. Matt Smith, good afternoon to you. Valerie, good to see you. Good to see all of you here. This afternoon on Facebook Live, the topic is Organize Your Life. Raise your hand if this is you, if you are not organized. If you are a 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1 when it comes to being organized, raise your hand. If you're an 8, 9, and a 10, raise your hand. If you're a 10 at organization, raise your hand. If you've ever been accused of being neurotic, OCD for your organization, don't believe or listen to that. That is typically someone who is unorganized and is usually a 1, 2, or 3 when it comes to organizations. So on the scale of 10 through 1, 10 being the most highly organized, 1 being rock bottom in organization, can't get your car in your garage, wash your clothes and then leave them in the washer, put them in the dryer and then take one piece of clothing at a time in the dryer, or graduate to putting your clothes in a basket, not ever folding them and pulling the clothes out of your basket. Or if you ever dated, mated, or married someone who takes their clothes off, leaves them on the bed, doesn't make the bed, gets into the bed with their old clothes on the side of the bed or their clothes on the floor. So once again, in scaling the map of organization, if you're a 10, I'm a 10 in organization. I'm a multitasker. I'm very skilled at both hands, left and right hand. I'm very skilled at peripheral vision. I'm extremely skilled at multiple organizational skills at the same time. This comes in extremely beneficial in real estate, so I can see the whole picture. It's extremely beneficial in being a 7-figure income earner from the comfort of my home. It's extremely beneficial in coaching 13, 14, 15-hour clients a day. It's extremely beneficial to be able to have a book like this. People ask me, how do you stay organized? Well, I see Beth, Kevin, Jose, Jared, Rick. Many of you are my existing clients. I have it right here. I have exactly how many number of coaching sessions you used in a set time. And to do this, this is what I use. At a glance, 1923, right there. 2023, right there. There we go. And this is laid out all the way for, let me just show you my schedule. Here, look at this. My coaching schedule is written out in ink up until November 1st. There you go, right there. This is how I do it, right there. That's just one way that I am organized. So factor I coach almost 80 clients a week, somewhere in the 80 clients a week. And the details, the organization, when people change their coaching sessions, well, it triggers a whole series of responses that require organizational skills. I move the date, change the number of coaching sessions, and I am on top of it. And then all the bills that come with a 7-figure business, plus payroll, plus insurance, quarterly taxes, city taxes, state taxes, taxes on top of the taxes. We are a taxed society, and I am not in alignment with taxes, but I am just telling you this, that I know how to pay my taxes, I'm on top of it, and I'm very skilled at understanding the money that is created, that goes toward profit, goes toward taxes, and the operating cost in a business. If you are going to be a 7-figure income earner, I was discussing this one of my clients, Alex. I coach a man named Alex who is a multiple 7-figure income earner. As a matter of fact, he lives in the Caribbean, and he had me do WhatsApp, and he was showing me where he lives today. And he has a ice bath, he has a glass sauna, he specializes in ERC, that's one of his multiple businesses. He does college loans, he's 37 years old, and he is one of the most organized clients I coached, and he makes multiple 7 figures, sometimes somewhere around this total, like this. So he does that at 37 years old. He first saw me speak in 2014 in Temecula, California, brought 9 people to an event and hired me 5 years ago to be his coach. He's also very easy to coach. He's very clear on what he's seeking from me, and that's part of his organization. He is prepared, he's on time, he's dialed in, he never misses a coaching session. He is in the moment. And so but he's also very detailed. He's organized. He has a system. He has a routine. He has multiple assistants. And once again, he taught himself like I did. You can do the same for yourself. If you're not a 10, 9, or an 8 in organization, it's time to improve. So on the map of the scale of organization, 10 being the highest, 9 and 8 is extremely good. 7 is not bad. 6 is above average. 5 is average. Anything below 5 on the map of the scale of organization, you are going to have challenges. Now, one of the reasons that many people are unorganized and undisciplined is obviously the events that shape the feelings. But we can't continue to hold on to the events for the rest of your life and blame the events. Although it's important you understand how the events create your overwhelmed state of consciousness and unconsciousness that you live in. So disorganization, not organized, is a direct reflection, number 1, of rebellion, and number 2, being overwhelmed. Those are the 2 main components. For those of you who do not own the book, The Procrastination Cure, which was a minor bestseller, I wrote the book in 2009, self-published in 2010, shopped it to an agent who immediately was able to arrange a contract for me. I got a small signing bonus. I bought 1,000 books with Career Press, and Career Press immediately wanted me to go on tour. Now, I was not willing to go on tour. I was at the peak of my speaking career and my coaching career at that point, but I did go on The Balancing Act on Lifetime. Mary Lou Henner had me on one of her shows. I spoke on multiple radio shows. I just didn't have the time to really promote the book. It still became a minor bestseller, published in 4 languages, and still is in multiple Barnes and Nobles. I still get a little royalty check once a year from that book in 4 different languages. I sold 12,000 copies to one country at one point. Now, and I've sold a lot of books in my career. I've sold over 100,000 books. That's not my own personal bestseller. I don't even like to sell that book. It's a personal reason. But if you're not organized, there's a high probability you are a procrastinator and an avoider. I mean, tells and signs of disorganization. Bed unmade, dishes in the sink. I mean, the obvious situations. Clothes aren't folded, clothes aren't hung. You don't have a system for your clothes, don't have a system for your life. Buy groceries on randomly whenever you're out of food. You do things whenever you're out of. You're out of soap. You're out of situations and other situations that keep you doing the same thing over and over. No, it's not that I don't like to sell my books. That is not my favorite book to sell, The Procrastination Cure. And there is a specific reason, and I will tell you if you ask me in a coaching call. Only my favorite book to sell is The Breakthrough Factor, because that is the book that covers the most on letting go. Take a deep breath, breathe, release, and let go. So, tales and qualities of being disorganized. Part 2 here. You do things at the last minute. You pull it off. It creates an adrenaline high. The cortisol cocktail. It's the concoction of adrenaline and cortisol that comes together, and that pull it off, it becomes, it's like a direct shot of adrenaline and cortisol in the same energy. And then other telltale signs of disorganization is And unorganized people oftentimes will brag to themselves about how they know where everything is. It's a commonality. This is how many people live, and they live in the wing it, pull it off mentality. People who are unorganized oftentimes have a lot of debt, or they have a lot of clutter, a lot of chaos. They tend to have a lot of dirty clothes, a lot of dirty dishes. Because what happens in and unorganizations is situations continue to compound up, and that's what happens. Now, if you are a 8, 9, or a 10, you can teach this skill. If you're a success coach, if you're a coach, this is an area that you really want to be able to assist your clients in. Or if you have a team, you're building a culture, because it requires a lot of details. So the consciousness is detail consciousness. Now, if you're organized, there's a high probability you've been criticized. People will say to you, you're so OCD. You're neurotic. These are things that I've been called. I got to a point where I don't even comment because I consider the source. I typically know the person who is criticizing me for being organized, what their situation is. Now, in David Hawkins' classic book, Letting Go, page 142, in the chapter on pride, he covers humility. And in that context, he covers that the truly humble cannot be humiliated. And in that context, you're able to breathe, release, and let go, and not personalize it, because there will be people who will criticize you for being organized. And so just understand not to personalize it, breathe, release, and let it go, and continue to be and stay organized. Continue to refine your organizational skills. Now, there may be a possibility that you're over the top in organization and you're neurotic, and in that situation, then you would be the neurotic perfectionist, which is in my book, The Procrastination Cure. I cover that is a chapter, and in that chapter, the neurotic perfectionist uses perfection as an excuse not to produce and perform, because it's never organized enough, it's never good enough, it's never in alignment enough, it's never enough, because that personality in the procrastination cure is not enough. And there are people who actually use their neurotic perfectionistic behaviors to avoid succeeding and avoid production. That is a smaller percent of society, but a large percent of society is unorganized because they are overwhelmed. So the keys to being and staying organized is a starting point. For many people, they are so overwhelmed, they don't know where to start. I've been teaching organizational skills for 25 years. And so back in my old school coaching, I used to have an exercise. Some of you may have been around long enough to have seen me cover this. In events, I would say you start in one corner of the room, like over there, and you come out a few feet, and you take a 33-gallon bag, and you go into your closet, you go into your drawer, you go into your garage, and you fill this 33-gallon bag in 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, or 15 minutes. But I've done it many times. I've spoken at live events, and then I've asked people to send me a picture. I also like to have, when I was teaching organizational skills at live events, I would do before and afters. Like, take a picture before and then a picture after you have organized. Now, that is only one component of Organization 101. Skill number 2 in organization is being and staying. A system to be and stay organized. Anyone can just go like over the top and organize a room or organize a desk, but do you have a system or a routine to be and stay organized? Do you have dedicated blocks of time? Like when I finish this call at exactly 1:22 or thereabouts, I have a prospecting call that I scheduled because that is my free half hour from 1:30 to 2 o'clock. And I had one of those call-ins, one of those rare leads that I do not receive very often anymore, where someone actually calls my landline because they've been referred to me by someone, and I must say those leads are gold. So when those come, those are gold. And I had an opening this morning, or I had a call this morning, and I booked that immediately. So organization is a now habit. Being disorganized is a later habit. Most of society says they'll get to it later. I heard one of my clients recently say, I'll see a piece of paper on the floor and I'll pick it up, I'll walk it over the counter, and then I'll put it in the trash later. Well, in breaking the habit of being yourself, that's a Dr. Joe Dispenza term, you would pick that piece of paper up and put it in the trash, and you would learn to do situations, tasks, and duties now. Also, when it comes to being organized, one of the skills of being organized is speed. And there's a speed to being and staying organized. But if you're very slow, if you're overwhelmed, if you're overanalyzing, if you're thinking, vacillating, getting ready to get ready, you're occupying a lot of your most productive time. One of the main components of being unorganized is it occupies a lot of space and it creates the payoff of not being successful. I answer this question every day. Payoff? If you watch football, Jim Mora was famous for saying playoffs when he coached the Indianapolis Colts when they were 3-11. Playoffs? Well, payoff? Well, the payoff. Lynn Morey was just at my event. Rick Stout was just at my event. And I covered the term the payoff. And Josh Moran was there speaking with me. And if you had the opportunity to be in that room that day, it was absolute poetry. Because Rick was also in that room. But Josh and I broke that down in a way that I've never seen myself or another speaker. We absolutely broke it down for the audience in bite-sized pieces in the brain chemistry. There's a brain chemistry of why you do what you do. And as you begin to understand why you do what you do, you're no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. The reason that people will be unorganized, now if this isn't you, it could be your family, your husband, your wife, your significant other, your son, your daughter, your employees, the contractors that you hire. I mean, that is a whole nother story. I mean, I have hired multiple contractors in my career. I have great relationships with some contractors. And my new landscape contractor is King Kong. He is amazing. I mean, he just sent me a mocked up version of a flower bed that he's building for me at my second home. And that was a very detailed, structured proposal where I've had other people that don't even send me a proposal and never get around to making up the mocked up sketch that I ask for. And that's what happens to many contractors that you have, because they have so much work, and that's what they have. There's so much work, and they have so little time that they tend to overpromise and overcommit. A key character defect of an unorganized person is overcommitting, overpromising, and then not following through, not getting around to it, leaving it unattended, undone. And once again, if this is you, today is a great time to take a good look at the cause that creates the effect of why you do what you do. Breathe, release, and let go. Step into the power of being and staying organized and start to become more organized in your life. So the key step in being able to let go of the addiction to being unorganized is number one, acceptance. You accept the fact that you have organizational challenges, that's how you'd state it, and that they are a character defect that you are not skilled at right now. And you commit to, just like you would alcohol or just like you would any addiction or codependency, there's not a 12-step program for being unorganized. I would consider starting one. The emotion would be overwhelmed. The emotion is also resentment. And because resentment is where a lot of rebellion comes from and being unorganized. And the key step is acceptance and then forgiveness. You forgive yourself for how unorganized you became. Step number 3 is look at cause and effect. How did I get here? How did I become this unorganized? What is the cause that creates the effect of why I do what I do? Because being unorganized is a reflex. It's a fight or flight reflex, and I broke this down in the room on Saturday at Millionaire Blueprint. Those of you who are going to be coming to that event in December, it's going to be even better than it was in July because I'm going to be that much better by the time that event happens. And so will Josh Waxman and Josh Moran and Stacia Kennedy. I brought Stacia Lou Kennedy to the event, who is a rock star internet marketer that I've known since 2008. She just let the audience know that she has her first client that makes $1 million a month online. I mean, that's who I have speaking at that event. So the more you understand the discipline required to be and stay organized. Let's keep moving into this because I have a couple more minutes. I'm going to wrap it up here. So to be and stay organized, you require a simple system. Now, if you have a whole house and a garage and a life that's unorganized, it's very easy to use that as an excuse not to start. Well, it's the exact same thing as like drinking a gallon of vodka. That's where I was on December 17th, 1988. I was drinking a gallon of vodka a day. Now, I had a breakdown called rock bottom, and typically an unorganized person doesn't hit rock bottom. However, in debt it happens, or in just absolute hoarding it can happen, or if you find yourself hoarding and you live this extremely unorganized life, or you're moderately unorganized, or you're a complete wreck at unorganized, you still require the same situation, acceptance and the starting point. The starting point is to start with one area of your life and start to organize that one area of your life and be able to accept that that's an area you're going to improve on, and you start to look at the accomplishment of that, and then you start to bring it outward. You're not going to be able to inhale being unorganized. And being unorganized is exactly the way you look at it in a 12-step program. It's going to be one day at a time. And it's going to be one discipline at a time. Take one room in your house, or take one closet in your house. Take one drawer in your house. Take your refrigerator. Take your garage. Take one area of your life and begin to practice the simple discipline. You require a system to be and stay organized. This is an entire seminar. This is an entire weekend on how to let go of being. This is it is an entire book on what the steps are. If I wrote a book, I would call it The Organization Factor. It'd be a 13-chapter book, 212 pages, and I would absolutely break it down step by step on how to be and stay organized. I am extremely organized. I edify myself all the time about being organized. I've been accused of being neurotic, OCD, ADD. All these, I've been accused of all these situations. And I always look at the other person and I go, no, dude, I would imagine that your organization style and skills are not very good. I don't ever say that to anyone, but whenever I'm accused of it, I breathe, release, and let go. I'm very accomplished at being organized. I'm proud of my organizational skills, and I have a system and routine for everything I do, and I can duplicate my organizational skills. That's why I have assistants who can follow through and do for me what I don't do, what doesn't make me money. And I have a whole handbook on it. I'm organized. They can step in and they can start right away because I am organized. And start telling yourself, I am organized. You edify it. I am learning to be organized. You edify it. And the emotion is overwhelmed. At my event over the weekend, I went around the room and we were covering this. We were going, I don't get overwhelmed. I would ask someone, I go, Rick, what are you doing to get overwhelmed? And Rick would go, I don't get overwhelmed. Jennifer Myers has seen me do this in New Jersey a few times. Matt Smith has seen me do it multiple times. I'll take a small room of entrepreneurs and I will break down in the room to them and I'll go, Beth, what do you do when you're overwhelmed? And Beth will start saying, Jeff, I don't get overwhelmed. I'll go, Beth, surely you get overwhelmed. And Beth will go, Jeff, I'm not overwhelmed. And so for the first time in your life, you're starting to edify the fact that you're not overwhelmed rather than you are overwhelmed. If you continue to edify that you're overwhelmed, you'll be able to be and stay in it. Jennifer Myers, who's on today's Facebook Live, was one of my rock star students. I coached her for 3 years through a very unique time of her life. She went on to become a top tier realtor, single mother of 3 in Tampa, Florida, crushing it. So thank you, Jennifer. And Jennifer sat in my rooms in New Jersey multiple times when I used to break this down for them. Matt Smith, also who's on this call, has sat in my room multiple times when I'm asking people, what do you do when you're overwhelmed? And Matt would say, I don't get overwhelmed. Rick Stout has been in those rooms. Many of you have been in those rooms back in the day. For those of you who are new to following me, I used to speak 45 to 55 times a year, flying 150,000 air miles ununited, and I've spoken in 4 different continents, 47 states, back in the day. I'm soon going to be entering year number 26 of the S Corporation of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. I've coached, I have to add this up, but it's at least 17,000 clients, 70,000 hours one-on-one, 25 going on 26 years of one-on-one coaching and speaking, and I'm now down to 2 events a year, Millionaire Blueprint. If you're a former coaching client or an existing coaching client, or you want to be a coaching client, I have an event you can attend in January. Now, in December. I don't use terms like mind-blowing. I don't use over-the-top terms. The event how do I even define this? The event is enlightening. The event is a very deep dive down into the bottom of anxiety, fear, and doubt. It's a realistic look at fight or flight and how the fight or flight mechanism that society lives in creates trauma bonds, brain fog. And it's a deep look at how the 3-letter agencies of the world and other entities who use trauma-based mind control, and then the movie, the music, the sports, the entertainment industry to groom and seduce us into giving our power away. And that event is absolutely splits the hair right down the middle on how to be and stay in your power. So if you live in Australia, Canada, would love to have you at this event. It will be game changing. I don't know how I'm going to use that. It will be very liberating for you. Those are 2 words I'm going to use for you. The event is enlightening and liberating, and would be honored to have you attend in December 15th and 16th. If you're an existing client or a former client and you would like to engage with me about rehiring me or adding on to your coaching package, feel free to reach out to me. If you're brand new to my content and you'd like to speak to me for a free 20-minute call, you can accomplish all that by sending me a message. Someone asked me recently, when are you retiring? I don't have a date, but I plan. Jim Rohn spoke until he was 81. I factor I'm going to be giving it the same run. So I'm here for the long haul. Breathe, release, and let go. Would look forward to connecting with any of you. Thank you for being here on today's Facebook Live. Amy, good to see you this afternoon. Stephanie, thank you. Good to see all of you. If you do want to buy a ticket to Millionaire Blueprint, it's a 2-part payment plan. It's a $500 up front. You can buy that at goldenmastermind.com, and then you pay the other $500 at the door. Have a great afternoon, everyone.